Hello, welcome back to the channel. I was playing a tournament yesterday, the PWCQ. I was playing a new deck, live streaming as well, and I thought I'd show off one of my matches. I don't remember exactly what happened here, but I believe it's Chaos Turbo that I'm up against, and this match was played for top four in the tournament. Winner gets top four, and could potentially win, of course. So quite high stakes, and my opponent is deep into the tournament, so hopefully uh, their play was decent and it's worth looking at. So I'm playing what I call Zaborg Tomato Warriors. It's a triple Zaborg, triple tomato, six warriors, one of each of the usual guys. BLS of course, a Sangan to go with the tomatoes, and a Tribreaker. And then a very standard spell trap lineup for a warrior deck. Triple Dusher, Triple Judgment. So this is my opener. I'm going second, which is not ideal, but I have a Duo Storm, so that's pretty great. I would assume I'm gonna Storm here. Often, these turbo players are going to set at least one Jar of Greed in these scenarios, which obviously is very bad for me. But seeing as I have so much background myself, if this Storm ends up being a one for one, that's still just fine. And that is exactly what happens. So I played the duo. Worth noting that they set a book behind their set monster, which you usually only do if it's a Dekoichi, because against a breaker, setting something like a spy is unnecessary, because the breaker still can't run over the spy. And if you have something small, like say Sanga and Faith, then it's not worth protecting, because, well, you can't run over the breaker anyway with it. And the Koichi hits that sweet spot where it's small enough to get run over by Spy, but also big enough to run over. Sorry, small enough to get run over by Breaker, and also big enough to run over the Breaker. So I could summon Tribe here in case of them having a Spy. But I decided to do so anyway, because if it's a Sangan, Faith, or a Dekoichi, we're going to draw up to 4 cards in the draw step, and then my dust shoot is live. And if it is a spy, then my dust shoot is dead. But then I can pitch it to the tribe. So every outcome here is good for me, except for the instance where it's a Night Assailant. But at this point, I already suspect it could be the Koichi because of the book. Alright. Of course, I was somewhat distracted as I was streaming and talking at the same time. Okay, so I played the dust shoot. Press show both. So yeah, this one was fun. I see Thunder Dragon Graceful, Chaos Sorcerer Spy. So you might think I should pick the Thunder Dragon here, and then Judgment, the Sorcerer, when it comes down. But I would rather Judgment the Charity, and my tribe does deal with the Spy right now. So if I does root away the Sorcerer and Judgment the Charity, and then tribe deals with the Spy, I'm actually in a playable position. So that's my plan, and as such, I pick the Sorcerer. So my opponent went first here, and let's be real, they had a good draw. Like this isn't bad, but of course my cards have lined up fine so far. I consider summoning the tomato, or well, not using the tribe, but no, I just have to get rid of these spies as quickly as possible. Leaving them with double Fun Dragon with a Dust Tornado set. I think I'm in good shape. And here's the Zaborg, and this is exactly why Zaborg is in the deck. It's the pop flip monsters after the early couple of turns. And yeah, that basically just swings the game. Because if that Faith had flipped and picked up the Graceful, you would imagine this game would be over. So here I consider whether or not to set the Nobleman. I decided that it's plausible that they held on to a Heavy Storm, so setting the Nobleman into Storm seems unnecessary. And if we end up having duo, then okay. That that's unfortunate, but still not. Uh, uh, what's the word? Not a disaster. Of course, they ended up having duo plus flip, which is exactly the reason why we want to set the nobleman. But I'm confident I made the right decision, so I didn't worry too much about that in the moment. Here, I believe I should set the Mirror Force to play around Tsukiyomi. It leaves me weak to Storm, but of course, that would have to be a top deck and two cards, so just gotta take your chances. Big card destruction. I have no response, of course. They find Product Greed, and at this point, I can feel the game slipping away. They find the Storm, and they have the Tsukiyomi. And now I know that most likely I lost this game. Draw the premature, I just have to slam it. Manages to trade for the judgment. Gives me some hope. Still not feeling too good about it. I draw another threat, Rota. I'm gonna play it. And now we're going to be forced to Wind Blast. I go for Warrior Lady because my reasoning is if they have a Book of Moon, because in my mind that was the one scenario where it mattered what I went for. I would rather the Warrior Lady be set, because it can't be run over by cards such as Breaker, Tribe, without also banishing them. Whereas if I had gone for Don Salug or something, that would be the case. But we did have the Wind Blast, which I'll be honest, I didn't consider in the moment. And here we definitely got punished for setting this dust shoot. If I hadn't done that, maybe this game would have turned out differently. Obviously, I redraw the War Lady, trades for a Night Silent. Set another Judgment. I draw another monster, so now I've drawn 3 threats in a row, which is obviously just well above average. They find their faith. There's the upstart. And here, I think I'm losing now, because we're gonna get to grab a Graceful. Once again, we're punished for keeping this dust shoot set. Because that's something that they would love to discard here to the Graceful to keep the Wind Blast. So I'm gonna attack. And here I made a mistake. So they set the card here. So if I just use Call of the Haunted here, targeting Tribe, then I win through Ring of Destruction. I win through this new set being Judgment. I win through the new set being Torrential Tribute. So that's what I should have done. I didn't do this. Instead, I just took my turn, drew the upstart. I decided that Call of the Haunted is sometimes gonna be lethal, but I might as well upstart first, because it's going to be lethal still, and I might be able to find something that makes my play even stronger. So I end up finding monster here. Yeah, tomato. And my logic is I summon tomato. If a judgment, I can just Call of the Haunted, and I will have lethal, unless their second back row is also relevant. And if they have a ring, this is also going to be lethal. So I summon a tomato. I believe I'm gonna attack, right? They decide not to judgment, and that's where I flip the Call of the Haunted. And now they know that they're dead. So a bit of a mistake there for me, but turned out well in the end, thankfully. Gotta try to keep up the pace here. So my side deck I built for this had basically no cards for turbo. The entire main deck is configured to be turbo, so only sided one card. Wait, and now with my current version, I think I'm not even gonna side one. The side deck card was Royal Command that I wanted to try for the event. Here, I consider some swordsman. I also consider going reinforcements of the army to grab exile force in case of spy. In hindsight, I think you can definitely make a case for just going with swordsman. Honestly, I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing, right? Because I have Royal Command as backup. If the swordsman doesn't get through, we flip the monster, I chain Royal Command. So yeah, that's what I end up doing. I think that's correct. Now, do I set the Mirror Force here? I think I don't. I think I settle for these two, because then I still have a chance to come back after a Mirror Force. Heavy Storm, I mean. Breaker pops the Royal Command, unfortunate. But we don't flip the monster. And at this point, I lost Tornado in end step. I'm wondering what their set monster could be. The most likely would be maybe Sangan, but outside of that, it's basically Knight Assailant. I do think Sangan would be attacking alongside the Breaker. So here, I'm thinking it's Knight Assailant, but I'm not so sure. I don't really know what play I'm going for here. I think you could defend a lot of different plays. I don't remember what I do. Okay, I just go for the swordsman, which I think is fine. Unfortunately, the Blade Knight can't get to enough attack points because the hand size will be too large. Set Mirror Force behind the swordsman. I decided to defend the swordsman here with the Mirror Force, force him to extend another resource to deal with it. I go Sorcerer. My plan is to Rota for Exile Force now, I think. Gotta deal with the Sorcerer, I believe, because there are very few draws I can draw that would out it. But yeah, now we top deck the duo, which is awful for me. Absolutely awful. And there's a spy. And this is a lot of damage. But at least now I have full information. But my deck has so many bad draws, and that's one of them. Judgment does not do anything there. And we don't go for lethal, which I think makes sense. Could argue a bit weak. I draw the storm. I decide to see if they want to show me any more cards. Obviously I know that I'm dead, but maybe they're gonna show me something I didn't know. And well, basically I get to see a second Knight Assailant, which you know is not obvious, but very common, and that's basically it. So, that's 1-1. I'm going first in the third game. I'm somewhat confident. I think it's a decent matchup, but I'm not sure how good. Okay, so let's look from my perspective. I Graceful Charity. Here, I think I'm gonna pitch something like maybe Mirror Force Sangan, because I call off the Haunted for the Sangan, and the Sangan can then get the light, and when the BLS is strong. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. Set these. I could even set the Typhoon as well. Maybe I should have done that. I don't know. Because I can always chain the the Call of the Haunted to the Heavy Storm, so that's not a big issue. So I pick Spy here, which makes sense. It's very plausible that I can deal lethal damage through the Sangan. They don't want a card destruction before the Sangan ends up in the graveyard, and they want to play around Heavy Storms, so they only set one back row. I think that back row is a ring. And here I calculate whether or not I can deal lethal damage, but I can't quite puzzle it together. There were a few lines here that I calculated, but none of which reliably would deal lethal. So I believe my conclusion was I wrote that for Warrior Lady, attack the Sangan, and they will have set Ring or Saku, and we're going to use it on the Warrior Lady. Then I pass, next turn I play MST, summon BLS, and That's basically lethal damage when combined with Tribe Infecting Virus and Call of the Haunted. So I believe that's what's gonna happen here. Okay, so let's remember their hand is Socrates Armor, Book of Moon, Card Destruction, and this is known. Gonna turn off the hand now before passing the turn. Sangan hits again, that's fine. I set the card. And here, let's count. So BLS through the Sangan, that's 5,000. Combined with another 1600 from Tribe Infecting Virus, that's going to be lethal. So I live with the Typhoon to see if it's a book. If it's a book and we chain it on the Sangan, then obviously I don't have game anymore. But we did set the Saku, which makes sense, but unfortunately for them, they end up dying for it. And yeah, it just goes to show how incredibly powerful BLS is. This is partially why I like playing Upstart Goblin in basically all of my decks. Just gotta find BLS, gotta find Graceful, Pot of Greed. And yeah, uh, I won this match. That was the last match I won. I got to the top 4 and then ended up losing against another Turbo deck. It was very fun to play with this deck. I had not played it before. Threw it together the morning of the tournament. I think there's something to it. I'm not sure it's all that great, but I think it's a playable concept, and if refined, maybe even a competitive deck, perhaps. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.